Hello everyone, ciao, this is Billy Sheehan here in Milano, Italy. You're listening to and watching me on the fabulous Linea Rock.
Welcome to Milan, Mr. Billy Sheehan. Welcome to Linea Rock
Thank
once
you
again.
very much. It's my second home.
Yeah,
really
good. Yes, we know that, and actually we're honored.
I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, so you're in Italy for a clinic tour, masterclass, or a workshop, or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
Okay, and so you've been doing clinics, these kind of events, since 1984, if I'm correct.
Yep.
And I've personally seen a couple of them through the years, and it's more like a school of rock than a clinic.
I guess you could say that.
Okay, so that's not like a strict lesson, for bass players. But it's also for their girlfriends or boyfriends, depends, if if the bassist is a male or female, so they can bring, friends and parents and everybody, and they are going to enjoy. Do you agree?
I think so. I talk with people afterwards, and some people that went there, they didn't want to go because they had some mom or dad had to bring her kid, or some kid had to bring their mom or dad or whatever, and afterwards say, "Oh, that was very entertaining. I actually enjoyed it. It was fun." Because we try to make it for everyone.
Yeah.
Of course, we concentrate on musicians. That's what it's for. But some people are there that aren't musicians, and they hear an amazing story that about the music biz or just about life.
Right.
In a lot of ways, they're motivational too, to try and get people to really get excited about playing again because it's the greatest thing in the world. So I try to encourage them to play, and often I get emails like a couple weeks later from a guy that brought his kid to see me, and he stopped playing years ago, but after he saw the clinic, he got together with his friends in the garage, they started playing, and now they're in a band together again, they're enjoying it. So
it was bass or guitar for him?
Well, really for almost anything.
Okay.
Bass, guitar, drums, singing, whatever.
Everything, okay.
I try to make it apply to everyone. But we get some specialized bass information, of course, too. Okay. That's very, very common.
Of course, you've got a lot of advices to deliver, to everybody, coming to these events with your talent, technique, and your huge experience. But what are you, Billy, looking for or getting in this kind of events? What do they give to you? And actually, how do you keep it fresh, doing it after so many years?
Well, good question. Yeah, my first clinic was 1984. And I remember it because I did it in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And there's a tall, skinny kid there at my clinic, and his name was Paul Gilbert.
Wow.
He was at my first clinic. So, but I through the years I've got enough stories and enough information that no matter what question gets asked, I have something I can say about it. So it stays fresh because I always include the people attending and ask them to ask me questions. And I love it when I get a challenging question. It's always great to get a question that's difficult for me to answer because when I do that, I learn more.
Okay.
And I often say I learn more from the clinics than the people that attend. It's also a great chance for me to kind of put my thumb on the pulse. Like when you go to a doctor and he puts his thumb on your pulse to see how you are. It's a way for me to put my thumb on the pulse of the audience and see what they like and what they don't like, what they're into. And the better connected I am with my audience, the happier I am, and I think the better both of us will be.
And so you keep the motivation, because of the people coming, and that's actually the trick, the secret.
I think so.
Okay.
Well, it's good to, I'm still excited about playing bass. I'm still excited about getting up and, hey, there's my bass, and picking up and having an idea.
Yeah.
And every day I find some new thing that I never knew before.
Okay.
And it's pretty amazing. After playing bass for 50 years, I pick it up and I go, well, I never knew that before. And it's true. There's something new, sometimes 2 or 3 things in a day. And when I say that, sometimes in my head, I go, is that really true? Am I really on it? And every day I prove that it's true. Again, yep, there it is. I got another brand new thing I never knew before. Cool. So it's I try to spread that enthusiasm around. Years ago, I had a kid email me and says, I've been playing bass for 6 months and I'm bored. What should I do? And I said to him, quit. just leave, quit, because I've been doing it for
it's
decades.
Not your job.
I've been doing it since before your dad was born, and I'm still excited about it.
All right.
Here's something else for you.
And which are the mostly asked questions from, the people at this kind of events?
Well, they ask things about the bands I've been in, of course, Mr. Big, Winery Dogs, David Lee Roth. Mm-hmm. They ask things about that. They ask things specifically about my technique, especially my right hand. My right hand's a fast little machine.
Yeah.
And I work on it hard. I work on it a lot. And it's developed pretty well. I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm still working on it.
Oh.
Of course, I'm still improving it, but it's pretty good. So people want to know about that. So oftentimes I'll take somebody right from the audience and bring them right up to show them, here, look at my hand. You see how my thumb is here, and you see how it works, and explain to them exactly how to do it. And I think that even the people that aren't up on the stage with them understand that it can be done. And I always say, there's nothing I do you can't do. And it may take you some time, but you can do it. And I really believe that. Might take you 20 years, but you can do it. It's possible.
But I'm sure you don't actually deliver, you don't say all your secrets, because otherwise...
Well, actually, I do. One time, there were 2 or 3 things that I never wanted to tell anybody. Mm-hmm. Then I realized that's not fair.
Okay.
Because most everything I got from another bass player, another musician, from Tim Bogart, from Paul McCartney, from a million bass players, Jocko. I got so much from them. And other musicians that I listened to and I learned from. I said, it's only fair that I tell the real secret. So I remember a couple of times, one thing that I told, I've seen other bass players now build a little device for their bass to do what I was talking about. Uh-huh. And now basses, you can buy basses that have the little thing built into it, which was the thing I began to talk about in 1985 when I did my first clinic at Musicians Institute in Hollywood. So it's interesting to see that some of the ideas I had and told about are now part of the
What
bass.
is it? It's like a kind of tool? What is its name?
It's a way that you have a surface between the strings and your fingers.
Okay.
So that when you play, there's a little ramp under there, a little surface. So you're actually playing on the surface, and your fingers hit the string at the same place each time.
Okay.
And it makes it go really fast and really smooth. So now I've seen other players build those surfaces, and now you can buy a bass with it already comes with that in it.
Okay,
so
fantastic.
I'm glad they were listening. And that was one of the secrets. And then there's a lot of, I wouldn't call them secrets, but they're not well known. And so I try to, now I tell everything. I don't keep anything hidden.
So, Billy, you are considered the Eddie Van Halen of bass playing. With your innovative and unique style, you changed, actually, the approach to bass playing and also to the sound of bass forever. Do you think that when you were young, it was maybe, in a sense, tougher on one hand to build, a career with less possibilities that there were back in the days, to be exposed. But on the other hand, maybe it was easier to develop your own style since you had to find a motivation and your personality within yourself without any influence, from outside.
Well, it was good that I played in Buffalo, New York, because it's kind of a small town. Even though a lot of big bands came through. Buffalo was a big, every concert came through Buffalo. And but it was a small town, and there was, our band was a very popular band. Mm-hmm. But for a long time, I didn't know what I was doing was anything special. I just thought, well, everybody must play like this. And then as we started to travel around and go to Boston and New York City and Detroit and Chicago and Pittsburgh, people were, wow, what is that you're doing? We've never seen that before. I go, really? I thought everybody did this. So it was interesting that it developed kind of like like a little island. It evolved all by itself.
Yeah.
But through the years, initially I started out as a young kid. I was always interested in new ideas. I was a science buff. I love science. I had my own little laboratory, microscopes, I had telescopes, I had test tubes. I was always interested in how the world worked and how to find things out. So later on, when I got into music, that same kind of spirit was there. So I was just experimenting and figuring things out and trying something new. And what if I put this pickup on, or what if I plugged into this kind of amp, or what if I? So that sense of discovery carried with me through most of my youth, and then when it was applied to music, eventually it seemed to work.
Okay, but being called the Eddie Van Halen of bass playing is something that still actually. You consider something good, or
oh, it's great. It's great. Eddie is he really changed everything. The whole world. Suddenly, Ed Van Halen came out, and everybody got excited. So any comparison to that man is, I consider it a great honor.
All right. But is it correct that you very first started using the two-handed tapping technique actually before Eddie?
Yeah, I started in 1974.
Okay.
It came from seeing Billy Gibbons.
All right.
And Billy Gibbons went, and hit that little note on the top.
Right.
We'd never seen that. I was at the show, oh my God, I couldn't play. I went home, took my finger, holy cow, that works. And so I started doing it, and I didn't know about Ed Van Halen. And then I'm listening to the radio one day, and I hear it, and I hear the eruption start, and I hear that's my thing. Somebody else has it.
Okay.
But I read a great book called Van Halen Rising. Great book about Van Halen. And Ed, there was another guy in LA that was kind of doing it at the same time that Ed kind of knew. Yeah. But I think Ed really is the man to be credited for it.
Okay.
Because he did more with it and showcased it to more people than anyone before. So Ed is the man when it comes to hammer-ons.
But actually on YouTube, it surfaced a video from 1965 of an Italian guy.
I've seen it.
Named Vittorio Camardese, who happened to be a doctor actually for a living, and who used actually the tapping technique on an acoustic guitar, even before everybody else. It seems so.
I heard that Paganini on the violin also did it.
It's true.
It's they say, there's an old saying, there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. So
that's the message.
It comes from somebody.
Okay. When did you really start playing, and why? Do you remember how it happened, and which were your dreams as a kid?
Well, I had a kind of a musical household. Nobody played, but my mom was into great music. She loved Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett. Great singers, great bands, great music. I had older brothers and sisters, so they were listening to the radio and the music before I got to the age where you start to get into music. So I heard it early. Then around the corner, there was a band that rehearsed in a house. My buddy Joe and his brother Jim, they had a band. And so I'd go over, and they were my brother and sister's age. So I'd be the little kid. I'd go over and I'd listen. I thought, wow, that'd be so cool to be in a band someday. And Joe was a bass player. And so I always wanted to be like Joe. To this day, Joe's a dear friend of mine. And I speak with him regularly. He was a great bass player, but I wanted to be like Joe. So when I finally got my first instrument, I remember I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Okay.
And that TV show launched a million careers.
Yes.
I mean, maybe 10 million.
Yes.
And it's amazing how many people went out and bought guitars and bought basses.
Yeah.
Stores that never sold guitars, and furniture stores. Now we're moving a section over, and they had their guitar section for people to go in and buy. It was so amazing. So at that time of life, that mid-'60s, when the Beatles broke and the music explosion happened, I was just lucky enough to be, I was born in 1953, so I was like about 11 or 12 years old. The perfect age when the whole thing exploded.
Perfect timing.
So I was very lucky.
Yeah.
And then also when I was young, bands were everything. There was no video, no internet, no nothing. It was music was everything. So you would walk down the street on a summer night and you'd hear a band rehearsing. Then as you get far away where you couldn't hear them, you hear the next band rehearsing, the next block. You could drive down the street and look in windows and see drum sets. You see drums set up in them. I swear to God, it was unbelievable. Driving down, hey, there's a drum set in that window. So it was so popular. It was amazing. So I'm so lucky to be an old man that I was around for those days, and it was a great influence.
With Mr. Big, you are one of the best examples in rock and roll of a band that, put talent and technique at the service of the song and of the melody. How did you originally deal with that? Is it tough, maybe to keep the limit when you're such, a bunch of monsters all together?
No, surprisingly, it was easy. It was easy. We really wanted to have. I left David Lee Roth and decided I want to start a band, and I already knew Paul, so I chose him as a guitar player. I already knew Pat, so I chose him as a drummer. And then we were looking for a singer, and a friend of mine played Eric Martin over the telephone. I said, "That's it. That's the guy." So we got together, and the first song we ever jammed, me, Pat, and Paul, waiting for Eric. He's come from San Francisco. He's flying in, so we're at the rehearsal place.
Okay, as a trio.
Yeah, just playing. We played by the Outfield, I Don't Want to Lose Your Love Tonight.
Okay.
So we didn't play some fast, crazy jam. We played a pop song. We played a song with great singing and a great hook.
A sign of destiny.
Exactly. And we love, I know Paul's known for his shredding and racer acts and things, but I know Paul, and he loves Johnny Cash. He loves, stuff like that. And me too. Same with Pat. Same with Eric. We like stuff that's exciting, but we also love to play music for people, not just for musicians.
Okay.
That's very important. So, but we always threw a little thing in there, a little crazy couple notes in there, and fortunately became a very good balance.
All right.
So we did, by the time we got to the second record, Lean Into It, we had a great situation, a #1 hit, and we're very thankful.
And after that first rehearsal as a trio, when Eric joined in, do you remember which was the very first rehearsal as a four-piece?
Pretty much.
What did you do?
It was in a place called the Alleyway Studio on Lancashire. I remember I drive by it a couple times a week. Now it's still there. We sat down and we just started coming up with stuff. Eric had done Big Love and Rock and Roll Over on piano. Okay. And he just sang it and played piano. So we got it and we did our version of it, which we did a lot more arranging to it. The song was great as it was right there on piano with his voice, but let's make it a rock band song. So we rearranged Big Love and Rock and Roll Over, and it came into this nice big giant good sounding songs.
Right.
And Eric would be there working on the lyrics while we'd be coming up with other songs. Then we would go, Eric would go back up to San Francisco to work on lyrics, and we'd go to another rehearsal place and just come up with ideas. What do you think of this? We'd record it, send it up to Eric, record it, send it up to Eric. Okay. He'd come down. Then soon, in about 2 or 3 weeks, we had a whole bunch of songs. Yeah. And the band was born.
Yeah. Cool. One of the best bands ever.
Thank you very much.
And in which way Mr. Big and the Winery Dogs experiences are different, and how similar in a sense?
Well, they're similar in that it's just basically a vocal band. Mm-hmm. Richie's got an amazing voice. Eric's got an amazing voice. Mr. Big has Pat Torpey and Paul Gilbert. Paul is a unique personality on guitar. Nobody sounds like him. Nobody plays like him. Pat has a great finesse on drums that just makes him completely unique, and I love one of my favorite rock drummers ever. Now over to the Winery Dogs, Richie has a whole different style on guitar. There's a blues bass and almost a little jazz in there. A lot of heavy stuff too, and plus he's not playing with a pick anymore. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole different vibe, whole different style. And Richie as the guitar player is also the singer. So there's a connection between guitar and vocal that is unique in the Winery Dogs. Now Mike, of course, is his own world, and he's an incredible drummer, dynamic personality, and so I think the thing that makes the bands different is the people. Okay. If the Winery Dogs played all the Mr. Big songs, then Mr. Big played all the Winery Dog songs, I don't think you would even recognize them. Okay. It would be very, very different. But the people are what makes those bands different, and the personalities.
And considering the spirit, attitude, working process, two different situations, or
pretty different. It's two different things, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Dynamics are different.
Dynamics are definitely different.
Okay.
But I'm glad because I love Mr. Big. Mr. Big will be around for forever, really. We all love the band. We're all great friends now. And same with Winery Dogs. Unfortunately, Mr. Big, we have a situation with our drummer, Pat. He's unfortunately contracted Parkinson's, but he's doing great. He's doing really good. When it first happened, I was very, very worried, and then he turned it around. He's doing much better. So he can't do a whole night on drums. Mm-hmm. So dear friend of ours in L.A., Matt Starr, came in, and he does some of the heavier songs with Pat. But Pat's still in the band. Yes. We say we leave no man left behind. So Pat is with us. We're going to do another record and tour coming up soon. Okay. But Mr. Big can't play that much. You know, the tour will be maybe 3 or 4 months. And for me, I really need to play live a lot. So I got very lucky that I also have the Winery Dogs. And Mike Portnoy would play 3 shows a day, every day, from here to eternity if he could. So he's excited. So I'm kind of like that too.
I was at Sweden Rock Festival. He played with the Winery Dogs, then he did with Twisted Sisters. So he's like...
Well, similarly on the Monsters of Rock, I did the Mr. Big show, and then I went into the Winery Dogs show.
Cool.
So the same thing, because I need to play. I need keep my hands in shape, keep my calluses hard.
Okay.
I really need to play, and I love to play live. It's the best thing for me. So I'm very lucky. I got my most successful band I've ever been in with 4 of my dearest friends and Mr. Big. Yeah. And then I got another brand new band that people have been wonderful and a great success with one of my other dearest friends, Richie Cossin, and another great friend of mine, Mike Portnoy, together. So I'm very lucky, man.
But actually, with the Winery Dogs, you're getting back to the roots, even, because of the trio, because Talas started as a power trio. So
it's funny, my friends from Buffalo tell me that the Winery Dogs is the best band they've ever seen me in.
Okay.
So,
with Talas, actually, you did a reunion in 2012. How was traveling back in time with them?
It was pretty great. There was 14,000 people there. It was crazy. It was we had a wonderful time. The best part of it was just to see our old friends. Because we haven't seen some of them. I haven't seen some of them for almost 30 years. I left LA in 1985. Of course, I played in Buffalo a lot, but I just don't get to see everyone. And that was the best thing about it. We got to see people and hang out and see how everybody's doing. And it was a wonderful experience.
But was that like a one-shot experience, or there's going to be more?
Well, I hope there's going to be more. The guitar players into it. The drummers had a couple of health issues. So I hope he can come back up to health and do it again someday. If he does, we will. We won't do it without him. It's got to be the 3 originals or nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Is it tough, Billy, to live up, to a huge career like yours? Could the expectations of the people and also the impact of your style become a limit some way? The fact that people want you always to do some kind of things, they have expectations, the things that you became famous for.
Yeah, so if we do a show and there's no bass solo, people are upset. Wait, it's okay. It can't always be a bass solo. But there's pressure to perform, but I work hard, and I spent hours and hours and hours warming up, practicing, learning new things, and so I'm always trying to improve. So every cycle of album tour, I try to have some new things. Yeah. And so I'm always trying for more. So there is some pressure to perform at a high level. I appreciate that pressure because it forces me to work hard, and I try to live up to it as best I can.
Actually, you also always show like a perfect physical shape. So I bet you don't just practice on bass a lot, don't you? I mean, do you have any particular diet, on the road, off the road? Because you look amazing.
Well,
you're always the same, after so many years. Maybe the hair is not the same.
It's still there.
The 80s hair, that is not there anymore, but
it's still there. I've never been a drug guy.
Okay.
I never did any drugs, And when I was in high school, I smoked dope a couple times. But even since 1971, I haven't even had an aspirin. Nothing. Okay. So I think that is a big factor. And I enjoy drinking, but I'm never a hard, heavy drinker.
Okay.
We have fun drinking.
All right.
That's all.
Just never party, but not too much.
Yeah,
not too hard.
Not crazy.
Okay.
And I know a lot of other musicians that have been through many years with a lot of drinking and drugs, and they're just not as sharp. Okay. And they look tired and they look beat. So I think that might have something to do with it. But other than that, I just, we eat healthy at home. We're organic, and low carbohydrate, no sugar. That's important. Sugar is death, and white flour is death. So we try to, and I run. There's a track near my home.
Okay, so you do workout and
I run and I lift a little bit, so
because your performance is very energetic, also on the moves, it's very physical. So
Yeah, I get
You
off
must-
stage sometime, and I am as wet as if I jumped in a swimming pool.
Okay.
I mean, I'm completely so. And on the road, sometimes it's a problem because I got a show to do tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So I either had to get new clothes or get these washed,
Yeah.
or it's always a balancing act to try
Yeah.
and keep everything right. 'Cause
Especially during the winter time, yeah.
yeah, well, winter's a little easy because it's not quite as hot.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a show at the Underground in London. I think it was our first Winery Dogs show there, and I almost passed out at the end.
Wow.
I started. My voice started getting higher. After the show, I noticed my voice started getting higher because my body was kind of
Oh my God.
constricting, and it was a very dangerous thing because it was so hot. It was crazy. I got a picture. We did another show in England around that time. No, maybe it was with Mr. Big, because I had a purple shirt on. I wear the
Okay.
right color shirt, so I remember when I see a photo, I know what band it was. I had the purple shirt on, and Robert Fripp was there, and and I knew Robert was there, and I love Robert Fripp, and he's become an acquaintance of mine, a good friend. I love the guy, and so I knew he was in the audience. So I did it extra. I pushed it extra hard, and I was completely. So I posted a picture about it. I was completely soaked.
And usually, which is the last thing that you do before going on stage and the first thing you do when you come off?
I usually have a little sip of coffee and maybe a couple sips of beer
That's before?
before.
Okay.
After, I'll take a giant thing of water and chug the whole thing down
Okay.
because you gotta.
Not cold water, right?
I don't care.
Oh,
as long as it's
really?
water. I'll
Oh
do
my
either
God.
one.
Could be dangerous, but
Might be. But if there's a bucket of ice, I'll put my hands in the bucket of ice
All
because
right.
my hands do get beat up really hard.
Okay.
I post pictures of them after shows sometimes of people comment they can't believe that I'm still alive. It's a lot of work, but it feels good.
okay.
It's a good kind of pain. It makes me feel like I'm working hard. It makes me feel right, and the audience is always happy, and if they're happy, I'm happy. So that's good.
Cool. About your signature bass model, did it change through the years, and what makes it special, and why is it green tinted 60s bass?
Well, yeah, it was green for a while, the seafoam green.
Okay.
The one behind you there on the screen, that's actually blue.
Yeah.
That's Sonic Blue is the name of that
Okay.
blue. So I've done the green and the blue for green tinted 60s mine.
Your
and also
two favorite colors, I mean?
Well,
green and
they're good, but also in To Be With You, waiting on the lines of green and blue. So
Okay.
I got them both there too.
Okay.
But the bass hasn't changed much since the very first version. We've done some alterations. There's pretty much the same thing. The bass is pretty much an inspiration from my original P bass, my original precision bass that I started with.
Okay.
That I made many changes on. We took all those changes and built them into this new one.
Okay.
And there's a Yamaha Attitude users Facebook page with all the Attitude guys on there. There's about 2,000 people on there now, and I get on there and answer questions. We exchange ideas, and
Yeah.
guys show clips of their bands. They're playing the Attitude bass, so it's quite a great community. Wonderful people.
Cool.
So I'm glad to see that the bass is serving others well, because it can really be used on almost any kind of music, any style.
yeah.
So
Very versatile.
very versatile. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm pleased about that.
Considering that Billy Sheehan is a name in the top 3, best bass player of
thank you.
almost everybody, which is your top 3 favorite bass
Woo,
players?
that'd be tough. That'd be tough. I could do my top 300,
Okay.
but
We have time.
through the years, I'd have to say, Jocko and Stanley, Jocko Pastorius and Stanley Clark were a huge influence on everybody up to the point. I remember when they first came out, when Stanley came out with Chick Corea and Jocko came out with
Okay.
Weather Report and then on his own. That was a big thing, but that was not rock. The rock guys, for me, the 2 first biggest influences, well, 3.
3.
Paul
okay.
McCartney,
Okay.
just because they're Beatles.
yeah.
Done deal. Plus, he's a great bass player, and what a supreme talent. Paul Samuel Smith was a guy in the Yardbirds.
Okay.
Now, Yardbirds are known from Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, but
Right.
everybody forgets that the bass player was I forgot his name. Paul Samuel Smith.
Okay.
I know it sucks getting old. Was Paul Samuel Smith, and he had an amazing, innovative, incredible bass lines. So everybody knows the Yardbirds from the 3 guitarists, but I know them from their bass player, Paul Samuel Smith. pretty amazing. And then the other guy who really was the first guy to really show that bass can be unlimited was a guy named Tim Bogert.
Okay.
And Tim played in a band called Vanilla Fudge, and then he went on to play with Jeff Beck, and he was quite an amazing innovator. Not quite as well known with the younger generation now, but at the time he came out, man, he spun everybody's head around. He was pretty amazing. So. And so it'd be probably the top first three.
Okay,
and
then there's all the rest.
There's a million others.
Okay. Were you ever involved as a producer of your own music or other artists?
I did 3 solo records. I may do another one soon. And I just produced a record by a young lady named Madame Mayhem. That was my first full production where I was the guy, the producer of the whole darn thing. And I put the whole thing together with some incredible talent. Ray Lugier did drums. I played bass on all but a few songs. A guy named Corey Lowry, a great bass player, also wrote 2 songs on it. Then I wrote the rest of the material with the singer, with Madame Mayhem. I call her May. Mm-hmm. And the record I'm really pleased with. It's really the songs that just sound great. The sound of the record is fantastic. Okay. She sings great. We didn't do any pitch correction. None. I was there the whole time. Not one thing is pitch corrected. So she nailed it all. And I'm really pleased with the record. These days it's tough for a new artist and a new record. So we've done everything we can. And the people that have heard the record, the reviews have been spectacular. Wow. So I'm still working with her as best I can to try and help her along in her career. She's a dear friend of the family. And but she's, if you get a chance to hear the Madame Mayhem record, it's really pleased with it. I many times I'm involved in a record, and I don't play it for my friends, But really? when my friends come over, there's 2 records I always play them: the first Winery Dogs record and the Mayhem record.
Okay.
I'm really pleased with both of those. And
are you more demanding as a musician, composer, or as a producer?
Probably more demanding as a musician. When you're composing, you give and take.
Okay.
I'm more demanding as a musician, but I'm more demanding of myself. I insist that it's awesome. It's got to be awesome. All right. If it's not awesome, I beat myself up until it's awesome. I got to stick and hit myself until it's awesome. As a producer, I really want the music to be for the artists. So I'll give them all the ideas. I'll open all the doors, but in the end, I want them to make some decisions because they've got to live with their record. Yeah. It can't be my vision. Okay. I've got to find the artist and discover their vision and make their vision a reality. Okay. That's what I do as a producer. And
this is actually what also you're looking for in a producer that produces your music.
Exactly.
To have freedom and control, right. Maintain it. Okay.
Yeah, so. And I've been in both situations where a producer is a tyrant and wants it only his way. And it's never a good vibe. It's never a good vibe. The band, and I know a lot of bands have been through this. You got the producer's going to tell you what song, what the arrangement, what to sing, what to play, how to play it. Yeah. The band always feels smaller. And then the worst thing that can happen is it's a huge hit. Okay. Now you got to play that for the rest of your life.
Right.
So.
You've worked basically with everybody in the music business, or almost.
A
lot. Which is your favorite partner among, all musicians you collaborated with?
Well, again, it's hard to pick one. Doing the David Lee Roth Band, when I first came from Buffalo, Dave flew me into L.A., said wanted to start a band. We found a guitar player, we found a drummer, we found a keyboard player. That was amazing. I went from in Buffalo with my 1977 Ford Pinto, flew to L.A. Yeah. And that night there were paparazzi. Yeah. With me and Dave.
Oh, really?
We were out in the town. So I went from 0 to 100 in about 10 hours. And it was amazing. It was an amazing time. So we got together, me, Steve Vai, Greg Bissonette, Brett Tuggle in Dave's basement working on songs.
What a band, my God.
Oh, we had a riot. And Dave was great. We had so much fun with him, and that was good. But then later, Mr. Big, that was kind of my band. I put that together, and I made it very democratic. Everybody had their say. I didn't want to be the king or the ruler, so everyone had their say. And we had a great time, and then we had a hit.
That's because Dave was the king, and he had that attitude. Yeah. Okay, so.
But when Dave was the king during Eat 'em and Smile, it was great, because he knows he's a genius. Yeah. When he was the king during Skyscraper, it didn't work as well.
Okay.
So I said, I'm going to make it more even. you know. And the Mr. Big guys appreciated my experience because I had already gotten arena sold out, success, platinum, #1 video, all that. So they appreciated it, and they did listen to me when times when my expertise was of value. Other times I let them have their opinion too, and I'm glad I did because there was some great ideas from Paul, Pat, and Eric, of course, and we ended up with our own success, #1 single, fantastic.
Did David Lee Roth ever compliment you about Mr. Big?
He did.
Okay, really?
Yes, the first time I saw him after because when I left David Lee Roth, it was a little bit of a fight.
Of course.
I hadn't seen him in a long time, and
he lost the best bass player. So
well, thank you. Well, Steve quit soon after that too. So.
Okay, so
but
he had some reasons to be mad.
Yeah, no, it's very true. But we love Dave now, and it was a situation. But
Cool.
I was at a party, and Dave come up, and he said he's so proud of me that I went off and.
Great.
Did well, and I love Dave. He's just one of my most inspiring personalities I've ever known.
Actually, last year you booked a special show to
Yes,
reunite the original David Lee Roth Band in Los Angeles. But what happened? I mean, somebody.
See, the show wasn't under our control. We were just going to jump on stage and play.
Yeah.
And it's a Lucky Strike jam. And the nature of the jam is no sound check. No rehearsal, no pedal boards, go on stage, plug into the amp and play, get done, get off, next band up.
Yeah.
So we thought, what a perfect way to get together and do a jam. And initially we didn't have Dave involved. Then we told Dave that we were doing it. He said, if you want to join us, you can. We thought, he won't want to join us. Sure enough, we got the phone call. He said, it's going to come. Unbelievable. Wow. So we tried to keep it quiet. But the word leaked out. And then the club made a big mistake. They started letting more and more and more people in.
Yeah.
Everybody had friends, and you're going to let my friends and these 10 people. The club holds about 600 people. The fire department will let them get away with maybe 700.
Okay.
There was 1,200 in there.
Oh, my God.
And there was 3,000 outside the door.
Oh, my God.
So, of course, the fire department heard about it because they watch in Hollywood. They watch the clubs. It gets too crowded. They want to shut you down for safety. They were right. So we were on stage ready to go. The curtain was down, about to come up. I was on, I had my bass on. Steve was there. Dave had the mic. Greg on the drums. Brett on the keyboards. We were ready. All of a sudden, commotion. And the fire department came right at that moment. They came in.
Oh, my God.
Shut it down. Shut it down. We offered, can we pay the fine? No. So we were upset. So I started playing a little bass and going, no music. Stop the music.
Oh, my God.
Anybody plays music, you're going to jail. I go, I've stopped. I'm done.
Okay.
And they were correct. The fire department was right. It was dangerous. If something would have happened, somebody would have died. So, unfortunately, somebody at the club made a mistake, and they let too many darn people in. But the good thing was afterwards, me, Dave, Steve, Greg, Brett, we all got together in the back and hung out and told stories. Yes. And it was amazing.
Okay.
It was like the old days. So it was a fantastic night.
Do you think it can happen again, maybe in the right place?
Don't know.
Okay.
I would love to. It's up to Dave. The moment I get the call, I'm ready to go.
You're ready to go. Great. So, which is the best memory that you have about, the David Lee Roth days? The one that comes to your mind?
Well, we played my hometown of Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
And I played on the same stage there as the first show I ever saw, which was Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, wow.
Now, my side of the stage was the Jimmy side. Okay. I was on the same side of the stage as Jimmy. Wow. He was on stage left. And I was on stage left. So that day, we got into Buffalo. I got to my hotel room. The mayor of Buffalo declared it Billy Sheehan Day. Oh. So I had a proclamation from the mayor. In Buffalo, New York, today is Billy Sheehan Day.
Wow.
That's amazing. Then I'm in my hotel room. Underneath the door slides Guitar Player magazine. I'm on the cover. And I won the poll for the first time. The bass player, best rock bass. So unbelievable. And then we played a sold-out show at the auditorium where I saw Hendrix play.
What more could you ask for?
Nothing more. And so I was forever grateful for what an amazing night. Pretty incredible.
And was working with Steve Vai back in the days with David Lee Roth Band and, after very different, than when you worked with him with his solo project.
Oh, yeah. Well, with Dave, it was Dave's band, and we knew it, and we wanted to do the best for Dave. We hired us to be his guys, and we wanted to go out there and fight the fight for him and do great for him. So Steve on a solo thing, it's Steve's thing, and it's Steve's ideas and Steve's music.
Yeah.
And when I play with Steve, it's Steve's band. So I want Steve to be pleased with what I play. I want to play the bass the way he wants it played.
And I'm sure that you know what he wants.
Well, yeah, I do. I do, and I'm happy to be to support Steve.
Yeah.
In live situation. And then he also gave me a lot of room. He gave me a lot of room to play and do some improvisation and do a bass solo thing. He played one of my songs off my solo record. And so he was very generous with that. But I love playing with Steve. I learned a lot about just because it's the type of music I don't normally play. It's not exactly my what I normally play. So when I had to do it and I had to do it perfectly, it was a great learning experience.
Yeah,
interesting.
A new challenge that you won. There are a lot of instructional books about bass from Billy Sheehan, but no biography, if I'm correct. No
not
autobiography, not yet. Okay, about your life and everything. So is it coming? I mean, is there any book in the cans?
Well, we keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. We'll see. Maybe one of these days.
Okay.
I know I still work with a guy that I knew in Buffalo. Actually, I went to grammar school with him, and then he worked with him in Talas. When I moved to L.A., he came out to L.A. He's with Metal Blade Records. And so we've been through the same thing for years. So between the two of us, we have a pretty good memory about what went on and what happened. Someday we'll start to write it down.
Okay.
Pretty amazing.
All right. Last question for today, the crucial question for this week.
Uh-oh.
How do you vision America with Donald Trump as, the president of the United States?
Good question. I think it's going to be fantastic. I really do. Unfortunately, the press during the election tried to make him look as bad as they possibly could. And each side tried to make the other side look bad. I am not a Hillary Clinton supporter, but I don't think she's the devil.
Okay.
I don't think she's evil. I just don't like her policies. And if you're not a Donald Trump supporter, I would say to you, maybe think of it that way also. He's not an evil guy. He's got some great policies. And things have been blown out of proportion.
Okay.
For example, people say, he won't let any Muslims come into the country. It's not what he said. It's not what he said. He said, when people are coming from an area of the world where we can't fully know who they are and what their purpose is, we want to temporarily stop immigration from that area until we have a better way we can get our people there like we do in every other country and find out who it is and what they're coming to America for. That's all he said. He's not anti-Muslim, not anti-Mexican, not anti-anything. He's a good businessman. I already saw his health plan is fantastic. Great. It's going to help everybody get better health care, cheaper everywhere. And already Canada is offered to renegotiate. Mexico has offered to renegotiate trade agreements. Putin got in touch. Yeah. He's so happy to have someone in America that he can deal with. Putin did not like Hillary, and that was going to be a big problem. So now, all of these things I say, people on the other side may disagree with. But this is one man's opinion from my observation, and I'm generally a positive person. And I think that even if Donald Trump was a bad person and didn't have any good ideas, the type of government we have in America is a system of checks and balances. So no one part of the government can get too strong.
Yeah.
The executive branch, the president. We also have the judicial branch, the judges, and the legislative branch, the Senate and Congress. So nobody can get too strong. So if anybody gets out of line, someone is there to push them back down. So I'm confident that it's going to be good, not only for America, but for the world.
All right.
And I'm very, very excited about it.
Did it ever happen to you that something that you said was reported in a different way and got you in trouble?
Yes.
Oh.
Many times. That's why I know that the mainstream media, they have a political agenda.
Yeah.
And they were all on Hillary's side. All the journalists were in meetings with Hillary.
Yeah.
They've proven it. WikiLeaks documents, they were all there. They all donated to Hillary's campaign.
Yes.
They were all part of it. They all hated Donald Trump, so they said the worst shit they possibly could about him. So maybe some of it's true. I don't think most of it is.
And when it happened to you, was it a big trouble?
No, it wasn't. There was an article in a London newspaper that I was in a hotel with somebody and with a young lady, and her husband showed up and pounded on my door and broke my door and started a fight. Never happened. Never happened. Nothing.
Oh my God.
Never. It was complete fantasy.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Okay.
But I remember I saw it, and I have it in my archives. There's an article, Bouncing Billy's Jap Rap, where they talked about me. I was in Japan, and his husband came after. Never happened.
Oh God.
Never happened. Never. So if you were to believe just that, you think I was a terrible person. But it just simply didn't happen.
Okay, so
but I'm positive that things are going to be fine for everybody.
Okay, thanks so very much, Billy, for your time.
My pleasure.
For this, into deep interview.
Great.
See you next time.
Next time. Grazie mille.
Cheers.
All right.
Ciao.